What's up, everybody? It's Diatonics, and today I'm going to teach everyone how to play better on a controller. This will apply to pretty much any shooter, but mostly a lot of these are going to apply to Fortnite and like third-person shooters. But again, you can apply it to basically any shooter. It's the same. Starting off is left stick aiming, and basically what that is left stick aiming or strafe aiming is aiming with your movement. Now, instead of having your right stick do 100% of all the aiming, which can be pretty difficult at times, you can make small adjustments by moving your left stick and just moving your character left or right to line up your crosshair on whatever you're shooting at, as opposed to using your right thumb for everything. Keeping your thumbs on the analog sticks as long as possible. This doesn't apply for every game, but if I'm playing zero build or something like that, you want to be able to jump and aim at the same exact time. And so some people get paddles on their controllers, that they have custom controllers with paddles on the back they can click with their fingers, or they'll play claw. And basically what claw is you have your index finger over the face buttons, triangle, X, square, and circle, the entire time. And I don't do any of that. I have a default grip. I've been playing with a default grip ever since I was a baby. And so, also because of the way my hands are, it's just kind of weird trying to play on claw. Every time I try to play claw, my aim is just all over the place. Just my thumb isn't like, I can't do it that way. So instead, usually your jump button is X, but I swapped X. So jump basically is L3, the left stick click, and run is X. So now I run with X, and then I just use my left analog stick to jump, and then I can just aim with the right stick at the same time. I don't have any paddles. Like, this is just like the default PS5 controller that I'm using, and that's what I have been using. And that's what works for me so far. I might get a custom controller at some point in the future, but as of right now, I'm just using the regular controller. Dead zone and sensitivity. So basically what dead zone is, and because of the fact that most controllers are mass produced, a lot of them will have stick drift, or they'll develop stick drift over time. And so basically what you want to do at that point is have it as low as possible without getting stick drift. And usually I used to keep it at 5%, which is the lowest you can go for most games. But over time, my controller kind of like degraded from using the stick so much. And I believe, yeah, on this controller, I have my right stick dead zone at 11%, and my left stick is at 10%. I have another controller. I don't know if like, yeah, okay, it's not near me. I have a camouflage PS5 controller, and I've only been using it for about 3 months, and already it has substantial stick drift. I have to keep it at around like 17 or 18%. If it's more than 20%, you're probably looking at getting another controller. But yeah, keeping your eyes on the enemy and not the reticle. So I've heard people say the opposite, which is keep your eyes on the reticle and not the enemy, or your crosshairs and not the enemy. But I typically don't agree with that. I think the way our vision works is that everything that we see directly in front of us is more in focus than what's on the extremities. Like, your peripheral vision is a little bit blurry, and so you're not getting as much like information to your brain as what you're looking at directly in front of you. So I would just keep your eyes on the prize, like just stare at your opponent wherever he's moving, try to anticipate where he's going to move or predict where he's going to move next, and then just your crosshair will follow. You know what I mean? Just look at your enemy the whole time. What you're trying to shoot at, you just keep your eye on that, and your reticle will follow. Linear and exponential. So basically, linear and exponential are just like look input curves, and what linear is what it sounds like. It's just raw stick movement. Whatever your raw stick movement is that you apply with your thumb is exactly how the game registers it, and that's what I would prefer. I play on linear, and that's what I would suggest because it's better for close range fighting, and usually fights that happen close range are fights that are going to happen no matter what, and they usually matter more. They determine the outcome of whether or not you're still going to be playing or not, more than a long range fight would. And linear does make it harder to fight at long range. It is possible, and I would recommend just dealing with it and learning how to fight long range with linear, but it does make it a little bit harder than exponential. And exponential input curve is basically your stick input it ramps up exponentially over time. So if you pull the stick all the way to the right, it's going to take time for the game to fully register that you're pulling the stick all the way to the right. It ramps up, it's exponential. And that's better for long range because you can make smaller adjustments when your target is far away. But close range is where it suffers. So if you're struggling with your close range fighting, I would imagine that putting it on linear would help out a lot. And I play on linear, and that's what I would recommend. Understanding aim assist. And I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions on what aim assist is. But in games like Fortnite, I'm sure COD too, but I don't really play too much COD. But basically what aim assist is your crosshair slows down, your sensitivity slows down whenever you're on an opponent. And there is a sense of auto rotation, which is where like the game sort of does the aiming for you, but I've never really encountered much of that at all. Like there was times in the past in Fortnite, like Chapter 2, where the aim assist was like really good. And people used to know how to exploit it by L2 spamming, but that has long gone, that has long since been a thing. And so aim assist now basically is just like it slows down your aim whenever you're on a target, so it makes it easier to make those smaller adjustments. There's areas where you will lose aim assist on controller, such as like bushes and like fighting around windows and stuff like that. Sometimes when you're in a vault, you'll lose aim assist, so try to avoid like vault fights and stuff like that if you can, because you might just like full on lose a fight because your aim is all over the place because you're anticipating the aim assist, but it's not going to be there. Thumb placement angle. Now that's a big one. Basically what that refers to is your thumb at a 45-degree angle, is at 90, or anything in between. I usually keep it just like, around 45 or whatever you would call this. If I try to go like this, it's just awkward for me to do that. And it all comes down to like how your joints work and which joint you feel more comfortable with aiming. And usually I don't keep the controller all the way flush with my palms. I have it sitting on my fingers. You can see the length of my thumb. It's still like outwards as opposed to being like this. I'm not like bear hugging the controller. I'm just like, it's resting in my hands and like my pinkies are gently holding it. And that just makes it to where if I want to move either of my thumbs, I have full range of motion. If I'm like this, then my thumbs are basically like, both my joints are fully extended and it just makes aiming harder for me. I guess everyone's different, but you find a thumb placement angle that works right for you, and that would help out a lot. Another one is to stop blaming mouse and keyboard every single time you die. I've heard this an absurd amount where I played with people, and a lot of times whenever they die, they always resort to saying, "Oh, he's on PC, a PC player. He's on mouse and keyboard," and it's like there are times where being on mouse and keyboard can make aim easier, but that doesn't mean that controllers are useless or that you can't find success with controllers. There's plenty of professional players on any game that have succeeded on controller, and I feel like having that mind state, it's a bad mentality to have, and that mind state kind of prohibits you from learning and taking away from the experience the next time you start a new game. So I just feel like if you're, oh, he's on mouse and keyboard, you're making excuses for yourself to not get better on your input method. There might be some times where you lose because you're on controller, but blaming your input method every single time you lose, I feel like other mistakes are made. Crosshair placement, that's a big one. So a lot of people, for whatever reason, a lot of newer players, they'll keep their crosshair at like pointed at the ground, or just pointed like anywhere but where they think the danger might be. You always want to keep your crosshair where you think an opponent might be. So when an opponent does pop up or surprise you, or if you see somebody, you don't have to make that much adjustment with your aiming. You can just like have it center of the screen. Typically it's better to have it in the center of the screen, or have it in like the average area where you think someone might be. So that way minimal adjustment is needed. So instead of looking at the ground the whole time or looking up at the sky, you keep it center. You usually want to keep it like eye level, keep your crosshair eye level, and that's usually a good place to start. And that would make your aiming a much better experience. Like, it would just make everything easier, just having your crosshair near where you think danger will be. And you always want to, like, whenever you enter a new area, you always want to like scan top to bottom, left to right, or top to bottom, right left. You always want to check high ground, because any decent player is going to be on high ground. So you always want to like check for that first. And you always want to keep your crosshair pointed at wherever you think danger might be. And that just comes with time. Like, you'll get better with that over time. It's not going to happen overnight. L2 spamming and hip-fire centering. And I mentioned L2 spamming before. That was back when aim assist was like really, really strong, and people used to complain about it. For games like Fortnite and perhaps COD 2, they made the aim assist not so strong. So it, slows down your sensitivity. So basically what I mean by L2 spamming or left trigger spamming if you're on Xbox is, since my sensitivity, my hipfire sensitivity is kind of high, but my ADS sense, like my aim down sights, is not that high. It's like 12-12 or 14-14, I believe. If someone breaks your camera or if someone's going across your screen faster than you can track them aiming down sights, then aiming in and out of your sights, like going from hipfire back to ADS, like really quickly, can help you center your crosshair on that moving target. That way you can keep up with the moving target that would otherwise be impossible to track. So you'll see me do that in some of the clips I have displayed, and that's another thing that you will get better at. It doesn't happen overnight. You always want to keep your eye on the opponent every time you do it too. Hipfire centering also as well, because when you use aim down sights the entire time when you're fighting someone or trying to track somebody, that can be detrimental because most of the time people have their ADS sense really low, and so trying to track someone that's moving across your screen or close to you, moving across you, they can break your camera very easily if you're just ADSing the entire time. I would imagine, having a really hard time trying to, and that's something I used to do when I was like a newer player. Like, you always want to use both your hipfire and your ADS. And when you're using shotguns in a game like this, you always want to like hipfire most of the time. Like, you want to play off cover with the shotgun and then just use your hipfire. The only time you want to ADS with a shotgun is if they're like somewhat far away from you and you want a tighter pellet spread so you can get better damage from range. But most of the time when you're up close, you want to have a sensitivity that's comfortable to hipfire with, because that's mainly what you're going to be doing is hipfiring. Controlling recoil and controlling bloom. That's a big one. Weapons in COD usually have a lot of recoil, and weapons in Fortnite, some of them have a decent amount of recoil, but nothing like COD. But basically, recoil is the gun's natural tendency to want to jump upwards when you shoot it, and so you'll feel that on your controller. You have to pull down on the stick, and if sometimes weapons have horizontal recoil, and so not only do you want to pull down on the stick or aim lower than what you're trying to shoot at, so it eventually rises up to where you're trying to shoot at, you also want to tap fire. Like a lot of weapons, you mainly want to tap fire them, because if you just full auto most ARs, the recoil will become like so uncontrollable to the point where you're not going to hit anything. So tap firing and pulling down the stick, that's like the most important thing. And then bloom, what bloom is the more you, and this only applies to video games, I don't think it happens in real life when you shoot weapons, but bloom is a way of developers trying to like balance people's skill level, I guess. And the more you hold down the trigger to shoot the gun, the more inaccurate it becomes. So your first bullet on most guns in a lot of games will be 100% accurate. Like, you have first shot accuracy. The first shot that you fire will always land perfectly on your crosshair, where your crosshair is pointing at. But then as you hold on the trigger and you keep shooting it full auto, the bullet may have a chance to go left, may have a chance to go right. However big the reticle is wherever those bullets are going to land. But where they land inside that reticle is completely random and is up to RNG. So bloom basically makes it to where a weapon is more inaccurate the more you fire it, the longer you fire it. So again, tap firing is a good way to work around that, especially when someone's far away from you. You want to tap fire, but if they're up close to you, even with a weapon that has like a crazy amount of bloom, if they're up close to you, you can just hit fire. It's not a big deal, because the closer they are to you, the bigger of a target they are. And so having their whole body fill up your reticle is like not a big deal. That's just how perspective is. The closer something is to you, the bigger it appears. So basically, when someone's at range, that's where it applies the most, is learning how to tap fire to control bloom and recoil by pulling down, and also tap firing. And yeah, that's basically about it. If I forgot anything, let me know down in the comments. I hope this helps, and thank you for your time. Thanks for watching.